hopefully he'll come in soon.
All right.
My alarm went off on my phone to tell me that I was at my desk, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Just
I
in
ran.
time.
We've got the right numbers.
All right, Chair Wood, I have 6:30, so you can call this meeting to order whenever you are ready.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 6:30. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Joe. Angela,
Thank you,
Joe
Joe.
is here if you're doing minutes at
Okay.
6:31.
All right.
All right, we will start then with roll call.
All right. Commissioner Weisong Frick,
Here.
Commissioner Wolthius,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Chairperson Wood,
Here.
and Commissioner Graybill.
Here.
And I did get an email from Jamie that she wouldn't be able to make it tonight, so.
All right. We will move on to approving our meeting minutes from last meeting. Let's see, the meeting minutes are from,
Should be from January.
yes. Yes, January 15th, 2026. I'll just look it for a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as prepared.
Henry, can I get you to use your microphone, please?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as prepared.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I abstain because I was not here. Okay. We will move on to our first agenda item, VR 26-01. The applicable substantive criteria are listed in the staff report. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the criteria described or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation, which the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Now I'll ask, do any of our commissioners have any personal bias?
No.
I have
No.
none. I have none.
No.
Any conflicts of interest?
No.
I have
No.
none. Any
No.
ex parte information?
No.
No.
All right, I have none. We will go to Angela for the staff report.
All right. Thank you guys. And I apologize. I can't be there, but hopefully if you can't hear me, just let me know. All right. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a 4-lot partition. Due to the limited width of the existing access road, the applicant is unable to meet the required local street and subdivision standards. The maximum existing curb-to-curb width of the access road is 28 feet. The required minimum width is approximately 42 feet, which includes 2 7-foot travel lanes, 2 3-foot planter strips, 2 5-foot sidewalks, and 2 6-inch curbs. While city-approved alternatives may be used in place of curbs, a minimum right-of-way width of 30 feet is still required based on Sweet Home Municipal Code 17.42.040. The subject property is zoned residential low density R1. Application VR 2601 is being filed simultaneously with partition application P 2602. Application P 26-02 is reliant on the approval of application VR 2601. The commissioners were provided a draft copy of the partition application for reference. The subject property is not in the special flood hazard area. The subject property does not show wetlands or waterways on the property that are depicted on the statewide wetlands inventory map or the national wetlands inventory map. The subject property contains an existing residential dwelling located near the front of the lot, which is proposed to remain and occupy one of the 4 parcels. Due to the placement of the structure and the required setbacks, there's a limited width available on either side of the dwelling to construct a local street that meets current subdivision and local street standards. Development Code's local street standards do not account for the site's unique physical circumstances, specifically the constrained building width created by the existing dwelling and setback requirements, combined with the depth and overall size of the property. These conditions limit the applicant's ability to extend a compliant local street to serve the rear portion of the lot. The applicant proposes to partition the remaining area into 3 additional parcels. Because the site cannot accommodate a roadway built to full street standards due to these physical constraints, the requested variance is necessary to allow a reasonable development consistent with other similarly sized properties in the vicinity. Given the site's inability to accommodate full local street standards, staff recommends a condition of approval prohibiting any further division of the proposed parcels in order to avoid additional intensification of access beyond that constrained roadway width can be safely supported. The restriction would not apply to the duplex lot subdivisions permitted under Senate Bill 458 as codified in Sweet Home Municipal Code 1772040. Section 17106.060B requires that the vacancy or the variance be necessary to preserve a substantial property right that is enjoyed by other properties in the same vicinity or zoning district and may not be granted solely on the basis of economic hardship. The subject property is zoned residential low density, which permits up to 5.4 dwelling units per acre and with no more than 1 dwelling unit per lot. At approximately 2.42 acres in size, the property could potentially accommodate up to 13 dwelling units under the R1 zoning standards. The applicant is proposing a 4-lot partition with lot sizes generally consistent with the surrounding properties. Granting the variance would allow the applicant to exercise a development right comparable to that of the other similarly zoned properties in the area. The request is based on the site constraints related to the access and layout rather than the economic hardship. Staff finds that the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property in the vicinity or district in which the property is located. The variance does not conflict with the objectives of any city plan or policy. The variance is not self-imposed by the applicant. The Development Code local street standards do not account for the site's unique physical circumstances, specifically the constrained buildable width created by the existing dwelling and setback requirements, combined with the depth and overall size of the property. These conditions limit the applicant's ability to extend a compliant local street to serve the rear portion of the lot. The variance is not a result of a property line adjustment or a land division approval previously granted to the applicant. Just today, I received a comment. Well, I was last night, March 4th, 9:08 p.m. From Angela Cragness. So I'll read that. You should have a copy of it there in front of you. It says, I just want it known that I am not in any way okay with the A-Team services and Andy Snigrev is proposing. My property has been in the family since 1941. Even further back, if I take into consideration that my grandfather's brother owned this property and the one just past mine, selling my piece to my grandfather in 1941. I also like to mention that I have privacy from the back of my property that I'm sure will be destroyed and opened up to easy access into my yard by undesirables such as thieves. Right now, there is brush and not so great fence across the back. I have dogs that would find their way out. I would not appreciate the traffic coming and going that would happen once 4 dwellings would cause our otherwise quiet neighborhood. I relish the privacy and I have to enjoy my dogs and family reunions and birthday parties and all the holidays that my family has always enjoyed without the annoyance of traffic and people all around me. It is a lot to ask of someone to change everything. Thank you. So that was the only comment I had received. And then back to staff. Staff finds that the applicant has requested the minimum variance necessary to alleviate the hardships presented by the applicant. Staff has recommended conditions of approval. The application shall be subject to the compliance with the conditions of approval as requested by the findings of fact presented in the review criteria in section 3. Any modification to the conditions listed would require approval in accordance with the provisions of law. Conditions of approval. Number 1, further division of the proposed parcel shall be prohibited to prevent additional intensification of access that the constrained roadway width cannot support. The restriction would not apply to duplex lot divisions permitted under Senate Bill 458 as codified in Sweet Home Municipal Code 1772040. Number 2, all building code requirements and engineering standards shall be met prior to the final inspection. The Planning Commission will hold a public hearing at which it may either approve or deny the application. If the application is denied, the action must be based on the applicable review and decision criteria. Staff recommend that the Planning Commission's decision on this matter be subject to a 12-day appeal period from the date of the decision is mailed. After the Planning Commission makes the decision, staff recommend that the Planning Commission direct staff to prepare an order that is signed by the chairperson of the Planning Commission. The order shall memorialize the decision and provide the official list of conditions, if any, that apply to the approval if the application is approved. After opening the public hearing and receiving testimony, the Planning Commission's option include the following. 1, move to approve application BR 2601 and thereby permit the variance for the subject lot located at 1188 43rd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon 97386, identified on the Lynn County Assessor's Map as 13S01E 33AC, tax lot 03300. Adopting the findings of fact listed in the section 3 of the staff report, the setting of a 12-day appeal period from the date of the mailing decision, and hereby direct staff to prepare an order to be signed by the chair to memorialize this decision. 2, move to deny the application BR 26-01 for the subject lot located at 1183 43rd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon 97386, identified on the Lynn County Assessor's Map as 13S01E 33AC, tax lot 03300. Adopting the findings of fact, you will have to specify which finding you're using to deny that is what that means. The setting of a 12-day appeal period from the date of the mailing decision, and hereby direct staff to prepare an order to be signed by the chair to memorialize this decision. Move to continue the public hearing to a time and date certain or for other. And I have conducted my presentation. Any questions?
I have no questions. Does anyone on the commission have questions for Angela?
No questions.
No.
Right. Well, then we will move forward to our applicant's testimony. I'd like to invite our applicant to come up and please state your name. Please just state your
Good evening.
name. Please state your name and address for the record.
Andrei Snegorev, 1415 Poplar Street, Sweet Home, Oregon.
All right, thank you very much. What would you like to share with us about your application?
I think Angela pretty much said what it was. I'd like to add additional information is that along 43rd Avenue, our sanitary sewer that's by City of Sweet Home is only 4 foot in depth. So to maximize R1 zoning, what Angela said, he can do up to 13 homes. Well, that whole main sewer line would have to be upgraded.
Mhm.
So that was one of the main reasons me going this way is to get as much housing as I can, yet these lots will be about almost half an acre lots. So, being for the R1 zoning, it's more than what's required. So it's beneficial to have a large piece of property versus 13 homes is what I'm trying to say, or 13 lots. Being the biggest expenses, the development of that property is it's not big enough to absorb the cost of updating the sewer line at the street or the whole site development. And I've done other projects here in town, so I'm familiar with what's going on. So we're not asking too much because that's a nice piece of property, and I don't think anybody would go in there and develop it down the road with being what the sanitary sewer is at only at 4 feet. We need at least to develop that property with full potential of 13 lots. You would need to redo the whole main sewer line. And I don't think I cannot absorb the cost or provide affordable housing being a, the house built in 2001 wants as many housing as we can. But the city does not have the infrastructure to accommodate that. So that's why we chose to just get, a small partition on that property. And I don't think it would impact the neighborhood or anything because these lots will be oversized. Still have a lot of backyard. So I don't see that being as a issue or anything, or would take away from any of the neighbors. That would actually improve the neighborhood.
Can you share your plan a little bit with us about the roadways that will gain access to these new properties?
Well, there's a house there it's basically the house will have its own parcel. So then we only have the additional parcel. The road would come alongside there. You could see it that go up to the back parcels, and you could see the back two parcels are a big size. So
Andy, can I interrupt real quick? So
Sure.
if you guys look at the draft partition application, it should have the site plan of how it should have the diagram of how the road's going to come in. So
Yes.
just to let you guys know that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other questions for our applicant?
Are you planning on building houses on these, or are you just planning on breaking the lots out?
We are gonna plan on building them, and I have other projects here in town, and they're mainly affordable housing. We have a project on Green River. We did duplexes, but we're partitioning them to sell each side so people can afford homes. So that we're doing affordable housing. We don't know what we're gonna do on this parcel because the lots are big. I was thinking maybe doing some custom homes, but the market has not been that good for that, so we haven't decided yet.
Okay, thank you.
So the sewer line
Speak into your mic, Henry.
is on the west side of the street.
No, the sewer line is on 43rd. It's on the east side of the street, along the ditch line.
So do you have enough drop to?
We don't have enough, so we'd have to do an on-site pump system to bring it into to get the sewer back onto the city sewer. That is why we chose only 3 parcels, basically. The house itself has enough grade to get into the city sewer, but anything that I do towards the back 3 parcels would have to be pumped into the sewer system.
Will you retain ownership to any of these forever after? And how do we maintain the pump?
Well, that's why there'll be an easement, and each person would be able to maintain their own line if there's any issue. I did discuss it with Public Works, and we haven't worked it out completely how we wanted. I did propose something with Blake, and I did talk to the city inspector, Sean, and they all agreed that it's doable as long as we don't, wouldn't go over more than 3 parcels is what I'm trying to do. This has become such a big, could be an issue down the road that we're trying to avoid.
So the conditions of approval says that it can't be, they can't be divided down anymore, but you could go ahead and build something besides a single dwelling home on them.
So let me explain a little bit. So when we say it can't be built, so he can't divide them anymore, like as a partition to make it. But House Bill or Senate Bill 458 is part of the Affordable Housing Act. And what it allows is homeowners now, because you can build a duplex on any lot in Sweet Home now. What the Affordable Housing Act allows you to do is once those duplexes are built, you can partition the duplex so they can have separate ownership for each side of it. That is allowable, and that's a that's a state rule. And so, but he wouldn't be able to partition it and put, larger homes, any multifamily. So that would not be allowed. The only thing that would be allowed as far as division would be if there were duplexes, because a duplex is considered one unit, but he can divide that unit in half. And that's per state law.
Okay.
Andy, is that your intent, basically, to put duplexes on each one? Only saying that because your tentative map for utilities show 2 service laterals
Yeah.
per each, and 3, it looks like, from parcel 2.
Yes, because that's what we've been doing here in Sweet Home, is doing affordable housing.
Right.
I mean, this is where we're at right now. Things might change because my housing that I have right now are not they're not selling very well.
Mm.
So I might switch over to maybe single family because it's just not, cost effective. Being the building permits and the system development fees in a duplex, they're running close to $40,000 to $45,000 per duplex. So it is expensive.
Yes.
On a single family home, I'm half that price. So just being how the market is, our whole intent was to do affordable housing, to have some ownership for first time home buyers. There's a lot of programs for that are available. So that is our initial goal, but things might change, but that's where we're at right now.
And right now we are just doing just for the variance. Is that correct, Angela? Just the variance
Yes.
for the setback for the road that's going to access the properties?
Yes. So, and
Okay.
the partition, the partition is reliant on that.
Mhm.
So the variance is just for the road width coming in there. So that's the only thing that is affected by the variance. So but the partition needs that part of it approved. So, but that's all for this application. That's all that the focus is the road itself going into the access road.
Yes. All right. That's what I just wanted to clarify.
Well, actually, let me so it's the access road, but it's also dividing it into 4, because typically, it would be once you get past the 3, you have the subdivision, but once he's divided off the existing house that can come straight off 43rd, then the back will be 3 lots. And so that road can only accommodate that many lots, because it's not wide enough to accommodate any more.
Okay.
Angela,
Yes.
with that in mind, is the process going to be 2 partitions back to back? One in order to separate the house out from the rest of the land, and then the second to partition the rest of the land into 3 units?
No, so what has to happen is once this partition is done, the developers want these 458 divisions, they have to complete the duplex first. So that has to be done before they can go in and divide them, because there's certain standards, there's extra criteria involved with the 458. So there's extra things that they have to do aside from just a regular partition. And so as building, Mr. Snigger, if he's very familiar with this, if he's planning to do that, he knows the extras that he has to do up front so that he doesn't have to go back and do them. And then once he gets that done, then they can partition it. So they have to be completed. They don't get a C of O. We have to have the C of O before we can approve the secondary partition.
Right, and the partition and the driveway access will not need any infrastructure along 42nd Avenue then, 43rd Avenue, correct?
There's 2 scenarios in the partition, but it depends. Right now, I can't say because it depends on what he builds, whether it's going to be duplexes or single family homes. Those are outright permitted. And so it will all depend on what type of unit he built. And we have discussed that, Blake has a couple scenarios depending on what that is. And I think that's highlighted in the partition application, actually.
Okay, thank you.
This particular area has a very large drainage ditch on the west side of the street. Do you have adequate drainage for surface water?
Due to size of this partition of the lots, we're going to do on-site storm systems as we've been doing on some other properties. There'd be not enough grade to go across the road of any kind. The ditch is not that big. It's the one on Long Street is pretty big. This is a secondary storm runoff in the ditch. So there is one on the west side on my property, but it's same thing. It's maybe a couple of feet deep. So the only thing it can do is just really the whole from front of the property towards the back of the property, it slopes about, I'd say, about 3 feet. So it is gradually sloping towards 42nd.
That's the ditch in the southwest corner.
Yeah. So to get any kind of storm system runoff towards 43rd Avenue is going to be pretty much impossible. That is why, that's another reason for this, to get 3 lots out of there, is because the lots are sufficient enough to contain all the storm runoff on the property itself. It wouldn't impact anything being the size of these lots.
No. It is a pretty wet area.
Well, Sweet Home has a lot of wet areas, but we have to deal with it. There's City of Sweet Home. The storm system is, not hasn't been upkept, and that hasn't been upgraded for a long time. And so runoff is hard from any property out here. Like most of all the properties I work on, we do on-site storm systems. I can tell you, there's only a handful that I've done that I had to run up to the ditch. So that is something I think, besides this project, the City of Sweet Home needs to address in their own, issues to be resolved down the road.
So this property, the runoff goes from 43rd towards 42nd?
Yes. It's not a big slope, but that's it's the grade because you got about, from the road to there, before it goes to the road, there's another property, so it comes down slowly. So, I mean, you got 600 feet, 500, 600 feet at the 3-foot drop. That's not very much. That's like an 8 it's very little.
Very little.
Maybe 1% grade, so it's not significant. In the construction term, that's really not a lot.
Can you tell me about your decision to make the road into like a hammerhead design where it turns and goes along that second parcel instead of kind of turn and go along the lot line and make the other 2 parcels all aligned, so like the housing, they're all going the same way? Why'd you turn them?
And I am open to whatever. I mentioned that to Angela. We can configure that to however I'm not stuck to that design. I just want my 3 parcels in the back. I'm open to any.
So I can kind of answer that a little bit. So if you had the road going straight, you still have to have a fire apparatus turnaround. So that having the roads T like that acts as kind of a hammerhead turnaround for them. If they go straight, then one of the properties would have to absorb, or 2 of the properties would have to absorb that turnaround. And so by doing it this way, having it kind of the T design, that parallel road itself becomes the turnaround, so that the fire apparatus can get in and out of there safely.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a long turnaround access road, is, to put it in the simplest terms.
Mm-hmm.
So then the only thing that we're really concerned with is this short, I shouldn't say short, but the entrance driveway from 43rd to that
Correct.
crossroad.
Correct.
Do we have any other questions for our applicant?
Nope.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, now it's time to move on to any proponent's testimony. This is testimony from those wishing to speak in favor of the application. We have none, so we'll move on to opponents. Yes. No, the first was just in favor of the application. Now we're moving on to opponents. And so this is testimony from those wishing to speak in opposition to the application. I already have some names, so I will go ahead and start with who I have. And then if you would like to speak, but you haven't filled out one of these forms, please just fill them out and hand them to Adam so you can be heard. I'm going to call Mr. Greg Jones.
And just a reminder to the commission, each speaker has 3 minutes to speak their testimony.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Greg Jones, and I live at 1185 42nd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Go ahead. Please share what you'd like.
I am vehemently opposed to both of these, the variance to the road to make that road that goes down in there, 1, and the subdivisions, number 2. Mr. Snegrev has come to the 3 addresses on 42nd Avenue, which is Miss Craigness, myself, and Jay and Tia. They have different last names, so I'll just leave those out. He has asked for an easement on all of our properties to get back to that piece of property that he's looking at developing. And we all told him, no, we don't want it. We don't want those duplexes back there. We do not want any homes back there. I've heard somebody mention that he can subdivide all those properties to end up with 13 residences back there. And if they're in duplexes, duplexes don't draw the best of Sweet Home. They draw some of the least desirable people. They have cars out in the front yard that don't run. They have trash and they have junk scattered everywhere. They don't keep their kids in the house without having clothes on, so we're not real happy with that. We have fences that are keeping dogs in their properties right now. Look up my name and my telephone number at Sweet Home Police Department. See how many times I've called to tell them that my dogs have escaped. I've always fortunately got them back and they have never bit anybody, so I didn't have any issues. But all 3 of us have dogs. Miss Craigness has dogs, I have dogs, and Jay and Tia have dogs. So how many of these occupants of these residents are going to, well, rather than going out that street and going all the way down 43rd to Long to go all the way down, to the event center, are going to jump over a fence into one of our 3 properties' backyards? It's not right. So I got to looking at some of the Sweet Home regulations, and there's one here that mentions that anything that is more than 4 pieces of property, a property that's divided into 4 pieces is now a subdivision. So if everybody's got that diagram of that Miss White has, it shows where Mr. Sneggrev's home is at. And he wants 3 other properties on there. That now makes it subdivision. And those subdivisions have requirements that he can't meet, which includes fire access, turnaround, lights, curbing, paved streets, water runoff. It goes on and on. He doesn't have what he needs. And part of that property, somebody mentioned earlier that there's no water, there's no creeks, and that's not correct. There is a creek that runs from the subdivision at the end of 43rd off of Coulter Lane. It runs all the way down. It comes through the southwest corner of Mr. Sneggrev's property onto my property, across my property, onto Miss Craigness's property, off of Mrs. Craigness's property, out into the ditches. So all of that area in the 6 months of winter is a swampland. It is really a wetland. You cannot walk through it without having boots on. You will end up with wet, muddy feet. You'll end up with muddy boots. you'll end up getting stuck in a couple of places. So the three of us on 42nd all oppose this request for variance and the request for the petition of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up Ms. Tia Hall. Thank you for coming tonight. Please state your name and address for the record.
Tia Hall, 1097 42nd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon.
Right.
I am completely opposed to him developing that into more properties. He has approached us multiple times to do an easement off of our property to drain the water off because there is going to be standing water minimum 6 months out of the year because I have standing water on my property. I do have concerns about having more people back there because we do have longer properties, but we bought those properties because we wanted the space. We did not want that many people around us, the neighbors in that area. So I do have concerns. I have concerns that the roadway is not going to be adequate for emergency services. Is it going to cause any more stress on the school district? I mean, how many kids are going to live there? How much stress is that putting on the school district? They brought up the sewer. It's not adequate to supply that for the sewer. How much inconvenience and money is that going to cost taxpayers? Who's paying to upgrade the sewer? Is he going to pay for it? Is he going to pay for it to have to go across the road? Inconvenience everybody? 42nd, 43rd are not full roads as is now. They are barely, you can fit 2 cars, maybe, very slowly. You're putting that much more traffic down that road. So I don't agree with this. I don't agree with him telling you there's not that much water there, because there's a lot of water there. All of our properties have water. And if he's approached myself and my other 2 neighbors trying to get easements to run the water off into the drain on 43rd, obviously, maybe there's some miscommunication on how much water really is on that property. I know he said he's going to put in the storm, but how much is that going to work when we have a good rain season? He told us that if he couldn't do it, he would have to pump it out into 42nd. Obviously, he's not going to do that either. So I'm very concerned about what he has told us and what he's telling you guys. And I don't agree with doing that at all. I don't agree with the stress that it will put on taxpayers on anything that we're also going to have to end up paying for during that. And we do have a lot of wildlife back there, and I don't want that disturbed anymore. You start building more houses, you're going to run into more issues with the wildlife that are back there. We have deer back there all the time going through those properties, all sorts of critters. I mean, what impact is that having on them? Why do they have to suffer for someone wanting to put in more housing? There's plenty of other places with more room to put in housing and not have to go to this much trouble for it. So I am completely opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite up Mr. Jay Lyon. Hello, please state your name and address for the record.
Jay Line, 1097 42nd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon. My couple of my concerns is he's talking about putting holding tanks in and having to pump this out. We're like one of the only people that have a well on that street that use it. And then, if he has any trouble, everything flows down towards our area. So I do have concern with him putting holding his septic there and then the storm drains. And I mean, if any of that stuff leaks out or any of that stuff. Like you already said, it slopes to 42nd, so anything coming off of that property is gonna be into our property too. So I do have concerns with all that stuff. And, you know, there's not a lot of room back there to do what he wants to do without piling more people right on top of each other. So I oppose it. I don't want to see it happen like that. I just know that it's always wet in our backyard, and I don't know where he thinks he's going to hold all that water, because there's a lot of standing water on our property right now. So, but I did want to address that. That's a big concern too. So, that's all I had.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
your
you.
concerns. Do we have anyone else who has yet to speak who would like to fill out a form and speak in opposition to this application? All right, then we are going to move on to any neutral testimony, and that's from anybody who's neither in favor or opposition to this application. All right, we have none, so I will invite our applicant back up for a rebuttal testimony. And please just state your name and address again for the record.
Andre Sneger of A-Team Services, 1415 Poplar Street, Sweet Home, Oregon. For clarification, I did approach the neighbors for from a good faith thing, because I figured all these properties in the back, basically the ones that all opposed my deal, was I was gonna, since the sewer line, we gotta clarify one thing. Sewer line and storm are two different things. My sewer line at 42nd Avenue is 8 feet deep versus 4 foot deep on 43rd Avenue. These are big parcels of property. I wanted to see if these people would I buy an easement off them, run my sewer towards 42nd Avenue because it was sloped that way. And it would benefit their properties if they decide to build a shop or ADU down the road. So this was from a good faith, asking them if I would benefit their property, not only for future development, their property values would go up from what I would put in. So it was not for a downgrade period or for any reason. So it was beneficial for both parties. And that's what I try to do, anything that I do. And I can see that's what it is. And another thing, the impact is, I understand we are in city limits, and I understand that, I got projects all over where we got animals and everything, but if you live in a city, that's, what it is. I mean, we can't do nothing about that. I understand. I love animals. I like all that stuff. It's just, I don't see, me putting 3 structures on those 3, oversized properties is going to be that of an impact. And that was kind of and then the storm thing. City of Sweet Home has a lot of wet areas that, but it's wet for a day, then the next day you come there, it's dry. So I own the property now. It's going to be 8, 9 or months now. And I've been on the property. We drove in there. So we know that it is basically equivalent to all the other projects that we work on. It's wet for 2 days and it's dry. So it drains somewhere because you got ditches everywhere, and you could see on 43rd, people created their own ditches where it runs off. So, I mean, I cannot change the topography of this property or where it slopes. I just can't do that. So, I am just trying to minimize the impact on the community there, and provide affordable housing that's needed in Sweet Home. And most of it, everything that's built here in town is all affordable housing. We rarely see any properties that are being developed right now into big homes or anything. So my main thing is to have options for people to own property and beneficial to everybody, not just, upper, different types of people. And overall, I just think my project that I propose here, being the lots are almost half an acre versus all the other lots in town are 10,000 square feet. So shouldn't have an impact on what it is. And then the storm system that we're creating is actually when you have structures that are there and they're all landscaped and maintained, they have actually less, impact on the surrounding properties because your containment is there. You got landscaping, you got all that stuff. And, there's different ways of creating drainage systems. So whatever is approved by the state of Oregon, we just comply with that. So we're not going out of any other, anyways, is what I'm trying to say is that we're not going to impact surrounding areas being the size of these lots is my thing. So, I don't know.
Does anybody else have questions for our applicant?
No.
No, well, yes. You have spoken to the local fire district about the 20-foot access for nearly 250-foot run back to the Hammerhead T.
I've reached out to Nick several times, this project 3 times actually for the last 3 months. He has not returned any of my calls or emails. And I think Angela, we kind of went over that, and I think what I propose, I think is more than, everything. I think we're 20-foot paved access all the way back is more than sufficient.
Once the applicant finishes the testimony, I'll add some of that to it. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so now we will close the public hearing at, what time is it? 7:17 for discussion
All right.
amongst the panel.
Let me, if you guys don't mind, I'll clarify a few things. So
Yes, please.
one of the neighbors discussed that. So the condition of approval that we put in there is, the example was that the size of the lot could accommodate 13 lots. However, the condition of approval that we put in there says that the developer, Mr. Snegerev, cannot go more than what he has proposed here. He cannot do that because of the width of the road. So no one, even if these lots get sold to someone else, that condition goes with the lot, not with the owner, not with the developer. So from here till eternity, those cannot be divided unless some law changes somewhere. But that's why we put that in there, that it can't be divided any more than that. There will be no more lots than that. Yes, a duplex is, and that's a state law, a duplex is allowed on all lots in Sweet Home. So that's not just a city law, that's a state law. But it's still one dwelling unit, so it won't be any bigger. It's not a multifamily is what it's considered. The 20-foot roadway width, I have spoken to Chief Tyler about. That's as wide as they need it to safely get through, is 20 foot, and it had, hard surface. And so, and I've talked to him recently about a couple different difficult developments in the area. And that's what Chief Tyler said is the minimum that they need to get their apparatus in and out of there. As far as the water, so when we talk about wetlands and waterways, there is a lot of water in Sweet Home, and you typically site drainage actually helps fix some of that. And so that is the hope, and what he's proposing is very typical throughout here. But I just wanted to make sure to bring up that the variance is only for the road, and there will not be allowed any more partitions of that property. There will be no serial partitions allowed on that property. So per the variance conditions of approval. So I just wanted to make sure that that was understanding, because I'm not sure everybody understands that by our code and the size of the lot, there could be up to 13, but we're not going to allow up to 13. We will only allow these 4 if approved.
Okay, thank you.
Angela, I do have a question. So let's say that we approve this. On these back lots, that are quite large. What you're saying is if this were to be approved and he were to say build duplexes, it would only be one duplex per lot allowed?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Well, a duplex is considered, so they can build one dwelling unit, and a duplex is considered one dwelling unit. So he would only be allowed to do a single family dwelling or one duplex. So that's it.
Per lot.
Yes.
Per lot, yes.
You could have 4 families on the back 2 lots.
I'm sorry, the public session is closed.
And we don't have, if we approve this, we then don't have any control over if he builds a duplex or a house, or if he sells it to someone and they build a house or a duplex. Is that correct?
Correct. So chapter
Okay.
17.10, the outright permitted use is single family or duplex. There's more listed in there, but that is an outright permitted use. It's what is allowed in that zone. And so we can't tell them that they can't do that if that is an outright permitted use. And those 2 structures are outright permitted uses in the R1 zone.
And just to clarify, Angela, that state law that allows duplexes, that is based on population. It's population specific, and it was
Yes.
triggered once we went over a certain population.
10,000
know.
population is what triggered it. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. What are our thoughts?
Angela, one last question.
Mhm.
The single family home could have an ADU. Since a duplex is considered one dwelling unit, can a duplex have an ADU? My apologies. for
No, not
looking
under
it
the,
up
not,
myself
no.
first. Okay,
Mm-mm.
good.
No,
Okay.
under the rules that the state brought down, an ADU would not be considered that for, if he wanted to do a single family dwelling and then do an ADU, that would be okay, but not duplex. No, that doesn't work with the duplex.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
That was my thought
Very.
when I saw them, that they were very large, and that this lot is large.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is no easy access to get to the road anywhere, no
Yeah.
matter how the owner would want to develop this
No.
property.
And a significant number of lots in that district are large, deep lots
Yes.
on both sides of 43rd and on the others, upstream.
Exactly. Hmm.
Some have been partitioned, but it's been very difficult to actually make things work. But, as you can see in the maps, lower down to the south, but
Well, and
they're all very large.
I can see how this plan, although it's a hammerhead, like a hammerhead-ish type style. We don't love that for fire, but the way that it is planned now, would, allow for the property owner who is to their side, if they wanted to develop in the back, to be able to join up to that, street to have access. And it, because these lots are so long,
Mhm.
Anybody who ever wanted to develop on the back of their property would run into a similar issue regarding access.
Yeah.
Isn't going to be development in this lot.
That's a church.
That's
now.
a church.
So
Yes.
it'd be probably unlikely, but possible.
Well, I know that people like their openness and their not having people around them, but unfortunately, the city is looking for places to put houses.
And our comprehensive plan does look to utilize the larger lots that are already within the city
Yes,
to develop before, outside city limits or.
Yeah.
What thoughts do you have?
I can see all sides of it. It's really tough. I kind of live on that side of town, so I understand what the neighbors are saying. I also understand. I feel like people should be able to do what they want with their property within the boundaries, but it's a hard one. There is all the water concerns. That's kind of my concern is we know he has good intentions. And yes, we have building codes and all that, but if he were to divide them and then he isn't the one that develops them, is that going to create a problem? This one's a bit of this one I'm
So-
struggling with emotion as opposed to rules.
Well,
So-
just to remind everybody, the variance is only for the width of the road. So it's, the discussion about the partitions and the water are great, but this variance will just approve the road for the 4 lots, just that side road to make sure that, because that's what the access width is needed. So
But this
and-
also
and-
approves the
but-
lots, right? This also approves the
the
partition.
partition will, yes. So this,
Okay.
it has to have this, but also if he sold the lots, vacant lots as they are, this condition still applies. Whoever develops this in the future cannot go past 4 units. 1 unit per each lot. There's already 1 house on a lot, so 3 more units, that's it. That goes with the lot itself. It doesn't go with the developer.
And Angela, just to clarify again, we are only approving the variance. The partition is just an application that's tied to it, but we are not approving the partition portion at all.
No, the partition, so you are approving the road to allow him to do 4 lots instead of 3. And then if you approve the road width, then the partition, then we will finish out the decision for the partition. That's the only thing that's waiting for the partition is the road approval. Because we can't approve the partition without that road being approved via variant.
So the question to the commission is really, does this roadway, does it meet the conditions to approve a variance? Which means, where you have to look at the conditions for a variance and decide if it falls within those, despite what we might feel for the partition itself. Like we just have to look and say, is this road necessary for this person to be able to develop their lot? Is it necessary to build it this narrow for them to develop this lot?
How wide would a normal street or if there wasn't the limitations that they're at with the road, what would,
So
given
the
a whole bunch of space, what would the road width normally be?
So at the top of the summary, so minimum required width typically for what would be a local street standard. So what he's applying for is called a neighborhood street standard. The next level up is a local street standard, which would be 42 feet wide. But that includes 2 travel lanes, 2 planter strips, 2 sidewalks, and 2 curbs. Now we do have rules that say that they could do other things in place of curbs. So the minimum that we would allow if they did that would still be 30 feet, which is only 2 feet more than what he's asking for here. But it kind of depends. So he's asking for a neighborhood street standard instead of a local street standard. And if you were to remove some of the curbs that our code does allow, there has to be options that would be discussed. Then, it could be anywhere from 30 to 42 feet, depending on the options that are discussed. But he only has 28 feet between the house and the boundary line. So that's what he is asking for approval for.
Because the variance is about how close the existing home would be to the road, correct?
That and because it's 4 lots. So 4 lots makes it wider. However, he can't make it wider. So that's why he had to have a variance.
I see. Okay.
And it's still wide enough for emergency vehicles and plenty wide for family vehicles, even big pickups. So as long as emergency vehicles can get in
Mhm.
with no problem. And I see no reason not to approve it.
Yeah, I would concur with that.
Huh?
I agree.
Yeah. I feel like the property, the configuration of the property requires that for development. I don't see it as self-imposed.
The existing structure of that house and its minimum setback necessary constrains significantly the access.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
This is hard and there's a lot of feelings with a lot of issues. But I think we've had it pointed out that the only thing we're dealing with is the width of the driveway. And we can have a lot of personal opinions that we'd love to express, but I get myself into trouble when I do that. So, but I think this is a lot of property that would kind of be wasted if we didn't allow some development on it. And I'm not going to go into all my other feelings because I get into trouble. So I mean, you know, I get into trouble.
I'm not saying a word, Henry.
Oh, yeah. sometimes.
I think I might be Henry Jr.
So,
on that
I-
one. So,
It's true. That's the hardest
I
part.
kind of
mhm.
think that the issue that is really before us is that we probably need to approve it. That's my opinion.
Madam Chairman, do you want a motion?
I would, if there's no more comments or discussion amongst the panel, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
All right. To, if I can read this coherently.
I believe in you.
All right. I'd move to, or us, to approve the application VR 26-01 and thereby permit the variance for the subject lot located at 1188 43rd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon, 97386, identified on the Lynn County Assessor's Map as 13 South 01 East 33 AC, tax lot 03300. Adopting the findings of fact listed in section 3 of the staff report. And I would suggest that we include the conditions of approval listed in section 5. And the setting of the 12-day appeal period from the date of the mailing of the decision, and hereby direct staff to prepare an order to be signed by the chair to memorialize this decision.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
The motion passes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we will move on. Thank you, everybody, for your testimony. Now, we will move to the next item on our agenda, which is VR 26-02. The applicable substantive criteria are listed in the staff report. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the criteria described or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes the appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Do we have any personal bias?
No.
No.
No,
I have none.
no.
Any conflicts of interest?
No.
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 I have none. Any ex parte information?
No.
I have none. All right, we'll go to Angela for the staff report.
Thank you, commissioners. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance to allow a 5-foot interior north side yard setback for a proposed residential accessory structure. Would be a pole barn shed. The applicant poured a concrete slab in compliance with the R1 development standards prior to purchasing the structure and was unaware that the structure's height would require an increased setback. The proposed accessory structure is approximately 17.75 feet in height. Pursuant to Sweet Home Municipal Code, I just lost my page here. Oops. Apologies. Sweet Home Municipal Code 1770010B2, the required yard setback for a structure of this height is 15 feet. The applicant originally applied for the adjustment based on a staff calculation error, and I will admit it was my error. Upon discovery of the staff error, it was determined that the request exceeds the 10% adjusted threshold and requires approval of a variance pursuant to Sweet Home Municipal Code 17106-010. A variance may be approved for those requests resulting in a greater than 10% change in quantifiable standard, which this is. The applicant is therefore requesting a variance to reduce the required yard setback from 15 feet to 5 feet. The subject property is zoned residential low density and is designated low density residential under the comprehensive plan. The subject property is not in the special flood hazard area. The subject property does not show water, excuse me, wetlands and waterways on the properties that are depicted on the statewide inventory map or the national wetlands inventory map. The applicant initially poured a concrete slab in compliance with R1 development standards prior to purchasing the accessory structure. At the time the slab was installed, the applicant understood the development to meet the applicable setback requirements. It was not until the building permit review process that the applicant became aware that the height of the proposed structure would trigger an increased side yard setback requirement. When this was identified, the concrete slab had already been completed and the structure had already been purchased. Relocating the slab to meet the 15-foot setback would require demolition and or reconstruction, resulting in significant costs. Pursuant to section 17106-060A, a variance may be granted when the development code provision does not account for special or unique physical circumstances of the site, existing development patterns, or adjacent land uses. In this case, the strict application of the increased setback requirement is directly related to the structure's height rather than the site-specific impacts. The location of the existing slab, installed in good faith under the applicant's understanding of R1 standards, creates a practical hardship unique to this property. Staff finds that the circumstances surrounding the completed slab and purchased structure, combined with the development pattern in the area, support consideration of the requested variance under section 17106-060A, as the code provision does not fully account for the site-specific condition met in this case. Section 17106-06B requires that the variance be necessary to preserve the substantial property right enjoyed by others properties in the same vicinity or district and may be based solely on economic hardship. Accessory structures are permitted use within the R1 zone. The subject property is approximately 4,075 square feet. Based on the square footage of the lot, the applicant is allowed to construct an accessory structure up to approximately 4,207 square feet and can cover up to 40% of the lot. The applicant is proposing a 1,200 square foot accessory structure and has 30% of lot coverage to utilize. The property owner in this vicinity are afforded the right to construct accessory structures consistent with the zoning standards. The requested variance would allow the applicant to utilize the existing foundation to develop an accessory structure comparable in function scale to those commonly permitted in the area. Although relocation of the slab would result in significant costs, staff findings are not based solely on economic hardship. Rather, the variance is necessary to allow reasonable enjoyment of the property right consistent with other similarly situated properties. Staff finds that the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property in the vicinity or district in which the property is located. The variance does not conflict with objectives of any city plan or policy. The variance is not a result of a property line adjustment or land division approval previously granted to the applicant. Staff finds that the requested variance is the minimum allowed for what the applicant is requesting. Building permit 82725000292-STR is reliant on the approval of the variance application BR 2602. Staff recommends a condition of approval that all building code requirements and engineering design standards be met prior to the final inspection. Staff find that the applicant has requested the minimum variance necessary to alleviate the hardships presented by the applicant. Staff have recommended a condition of approval. The applicant shall be subject to the compliance with the condition as required by the findings of fact presented in the review criteria in section 3. Any modifications to the condition would require approval in accordance with the provisions of law. Condition of approval, all building code requirements and engineering standards be met prior to the final inspection. I received one comment. It was via phone call. The planning received a voicemail from a neighboring property owner expressing opposition to the application and proposed setback. The caller stated that the height of the structure and its proximity to the property line would shade his garden area. I returned a voicemail, I left another voicemail for him requesting that the concerns be submitted in writing via letter or email so they could be included in record for you all to review. And as of the date of this report, I had not received any written correspondence. The Planning Commission will hold a public hearing at which it may either approve or deny the application. If the application is denied, the action must be based on the applicable review and decision criteria. Staff recommend the Planning Commission's decision on this matter be subject to a 12-day appeal period from the date that this decision is mailed. After the Planning Commission makes the decision, staff recommend the Planning Commission direct the staff to prepare an order that is signed by the chairperson of the Planning Commission. The order shall memorialize the decision and provide the official list of conditions, if any, that apply to the approval of the application is approved. After opening the public hearing and receiving testimony, the Planning Commission's options include the following. 1, move to approve application BR 26-02 and thereby permit the variance for the subject lot located at 1197 43rd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon 97386, identified on the Lynn County Assessor's Map as 13S01E 338C, tax lot 01702. Adopting the findings of fact listed in section 3 of the staff report, the setting of a 12-day appeal period from the date of the mailing decision, and hereby direct staff to prepare an order to be signed by the chair to memorialize this decision. 2, move to deny application VR 26-02 for the subject lot located at 1197 43rd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon 97386, identified in the Lynn County Assessor's Map as 13S01E 33AC, tax lot 01702. Adopting the following finding of fact, which you will state: the setting of a 12-day appeal period from the date of the mailing decision and hereby direct staff to prepare an order to be signed by the chair to memorialize the decision. 3, move to continue the public hearing to a date and time certain. And 4, other. That is the end of my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
So Angela, can I just ask before, you mentioned that there was that you made an error when you were calculating the percentage. So does that mean that this applicant believed that they didn't have to go through this process when they were applying for permits initially? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep. I need to brush up on my math is what this came. It's not,
It can happen to the best of us.
Mhm.
I realize that the sun angles change all the time, every day. But one of the things that I looked at is the potential shadow cast, taking into at least some concern of, one neighbor. And
Hey, Joe.
it is.
I can hear him.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Anyway, bottom line is I was looking at the fence line and the shadow therefrom at the property line, and then looking at the setback of what this building would be in its height and the neighboring structures. And I'm pretty sure that the shadows would overlap each other and not be a significant issue. But, I realize that can change every day, but it's one of the things that I looked at, and I wondered if you had looked at also the sun angle and the shadow patterns. But that's okay.
Are you talking to me, Joe?
Yes, yes. Sorry,
I can
Angela.
see you're looking.
I should be
but...
looking at the camera on the ceiling when I say that.
Yeah, no, well, no, you're fine. No, I have not gone out to the site. And because shadows aren't part of municipal code, that is not something that, I would make mention. I do have to read any comments that come in, but I only address what's in code and what's required in code. So that is not something that I would have went and investigated.
Right.
So what would the height of the building have been to allow the 5-foot setback?
I think it's up to, hold on, let me bring that up and I can tell you. I don't want to lie to you, so give me 1 second.
I'm interested in what the difference is between what was allowable and what they are proposing.
Rear yard is every foot above 15 feet.
15 feet?
Correct.
So we're talking 2 feet, 2.5 feet.
Well, so side yard, so just set the side and the rear. So
Side.
side yard is 8 feet, rear yard is 15 feet.
Any other questions for Angela? All right, I'd like to invite our applicant up for testimony. Hi, please state your name and address for the record.
Marilyn Nicholson, 1197 43rd Avenue, Sweet Home, Oregon.
Wonderful. Please share what you'd like about your application.
I have some documents I would like to share with the group if you would like those, or I can read them out loud.
Well, I can go ahead and, Angela, can I take those and give them to the?
You can. It might
Okay.
be better also to just discuss it too. I mean, but
Okay.
if you want to take them for visual, yes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and I'll get them so we can read them.
Me?
Yes, please, Joe. Thank you. Thank you for bringing a copy for each of us. Thank you. Please continue.
As a licensed professional engineer in the state of Oregon, I must adhere to strict ethical standards, focusing on public safety, competence, and integrity. I fully understand building permits are required inside Sweet Home city limits and have made every effort to accurately and thoroughly document information applicable to the variance request. I'm going to skip down to the middle part of the page where it says Sweet Home Municipal Code 17.10.060 states, regardless of the side and rear yards requirements of the zone, an accessory building, excluding detached accessory buildings, may be built to within 5 feet of the side or rear lot line, provided the structure is more than 70 feet from the street abutting the front yard and 20 feet from the street abutting the street side. That is the information that I utilized to continue with my project. There's additional information on here about the time at which the city had information about my plans with all of the documents indicating a 5-foot setback. Nothing was ever mentioned that that was too close. I never had any information to lead me to believe I couldn't put it at 5 feet. And this application and process started last June. Again, I can provide any documentation you find necessary to approve this variance request. A licensed land surveyor has verified the building is 5.57 feet from the property line at its nearest point. I have a building permit in my possession. I also have an inspection that says it's okay to proceed to construct. And I received the notice regarding this variance from Angela on January 28th that we would need to proceed with this based on a third mathematical error. And the information that you folks were presented is not accurate either, because I did not pour the concrete slab prior to building purchase. So there's a lot of conflicting information. I'm hoping that this will clarify it for the panel. And in summary, I've made every attempt to follow the City of Sweet Home process. I can provide copies of some supporting documentation, and I respectfully ask that the Planning Commission vote to approve this variance.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for our applicant?
No,
No.
I have none.
No,
No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll move on now to our proponent's testimony. Marilyn, did you wish to come back and speak in favor of your application again? Okay. All right. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor of the application? All right, we'll move on to opponent's testimony. This is a testimony from anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application. We have none, so we'll move to testimony, and that's testimony from those that are neither in favor nor in opposition of the application. We have none. So with that, I will go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:49. For discussion amongst the panel. I can say I had your same question about how tall something could be 5 feet away from the fence, and how much of a variance we were really approving here. My concern, I mean, I thought about the size of the lot, that it's large and there's room to put this structure somewhere else. But after hearing testimony and knowing that it was a city error that moved this project forward before realizing that it was going to require a variance. And I take all those things into consideration.
It looks like the obvious location on the property to put an accessory dwelling, or not dwelling, I'm sorry, accessory building. It's a nice big lot. And the shop is going to be about the same height as the house. So it's not going to, it's all going to look,
it's not like it's a 2-story dwelling.
yeah, it's, yes, I understand neighbors with gardens because I'm one of those neighbors with gardens. But like Joe said, the sun moves and might have to put your garden in a slightly different area. Or not.
Well, my neighbors have trees that shade my yard.
and it appears that it was not her mistake.
No,
Yes. Right.
I have no objection to this. I've read this over pretty well, and I don't see any reason why she wouldn't be able to go ahead and use the slab she's got.
Yeah,
I would concur.
I agree.
yep, me too.
Then I'll look for a motion.
I would move to approve application VR 26-02 and thereby permit the variance for the subject lot located at 1197 43rd Avenue in Sweet Home 97386, identified on the Lynn County Assessor's map as 13 South 01 East 33 AC, tax lot 01702, adopting the findings of fact listed in section 3 of the staff report and setting a 12-day appeal period from the date of the mailing of the decision, and hereby direct staff to prepare an order to be signed by the chair to memorialize this decision.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion passes. at 7:53. Right, we will move on then. Now that's the end of our meeting agenda. So we'll go to staff report.
Right. Don't have very many things. We've got quite a few property line adjustments and partitions coming through the door. We've had one adjustment. And you guys will have another meeting actually in April, so get to see you a little bit more often maybe this year.
Maybe.
The other thing coming down the road,
I'll show up.
thanks, Joe.
On
As
time.
I'm still working on code updates, so that will be coming around the bend as soon as we get that done. We've had a lot going on, so but I'm working slowly but surely to get those completed so we can start reviewing those. I'm hoping in the next couple months we'll be ready for that. But really, that's all we have right now.
Okay.
Angela, can you
Yeah.
give me a description or a definition of why a duplex is considered a single family unit?
It's not a single family unit. It's just considered one unit, not a single
One
family
unit.
unit. Yes,
Okay.
it's according
One
to
unit.
definitions, a unit it's in our definition. Here, I'll see if I can
It
find
is?
it.
Oh, I should look it up myself then.
Yeah, Joe, how long do you work here?
Yeah.
Let's see, let me find it. Sorry. An interior, an accessory, oh, whoops, that's the wrong thing. Hold on. Doo-doo. No, I'm looking for the. Oh. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. So yeah, it's under the permitted use. So, and it's considered,
Okay.
sorry, I can't find it real quick. My internet seems to be going in and out. I'm losing my development code here, but it does say the following uses. And then the duplex dwelling includes duplexes created through a conversion. I'm trying to find the unit actual definition, but
So it's one
I'm gonna have-
building.
yes, one building. That's pretty much. So it's one building, even though you can divide it in half. And if they do the 458 division, there's extra firewall requirements. There's separate utilities on each side. So it all has to be built, but it does have to be a duplex. It can't be like townhomes. It can't be, zero lot line type homes. It has to be a duplex. So apologies, I'm
Okay.
losing my voice here.
Right.
I have one other question. If I may ask the status of a project in town, I'm curious about the subdivision at the south end of 43rd, that on the hillside there, the Coulter Lane properties.
It's
Is it-
there. Go ahead.
Is it just slowly building or is it, it's not on
They
pause
are,
or
they
anything?
are finishing the infrastructure. We're hoping to have that done fairly soon. They've got to put the sidewalks in, and then they'll be doing the asphalt here. They just filed an extension for their final plat because they have to have that part done. And so we're hoping in the next couple months that part will get done, and then they'll continue with the building part of it. So they're getting close with the infrastructure though.
Okay, thank you.
I can say they work on it every day because I can hear it. I mean, not bad, but yeah, I mean, they're slowly working on it. I can't see it from my place, but I can kind of hear it.
Okay,
So
good.
I haven't went down there to see what's happening yet. A lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are having a
So,
lot of building
This
going
is
on
just
over in that
in
side of
Babel
town.
time, right?
Right. Do you want me to, hold on, let me end the public meeting first. Okay, I'm gonna end the meeting.
Oh, wait,
at-
no, hold
no.
on. There's still
What else we
more on
have?
the agenda. So you have
We have-
planning commission business. So
All right,
we
what's our
do have a
planning
new,
commission business?
yeah, we do have a new commissioner that will be coming on. It has to be approved in council first. So once that's approved in council, I'll be sending out a letter and packets for this person. And it will need to vote for chair and vice chair again. And the meeting was kind of a smaller meeting. They decided they wanted to wait till all of the commissioners were on board to do that. So the goal is to vote at the April 16th meeting. That will be the next meeting we have business. So I just wanted to let
I
you all
will
know
not, I will not be in town on April 16th. I will be out.
Okay, if you want to, you can email me if you have an opinion about that, so either
Okay.
way.
Okay.
So, and then real quick, I was talking and reading at the same time. So, a dwelling is a two-family unit, a building designed or used as two attached residential dwellings, neither of which meets the definition of an accessory dwelling unit. And a dwelling unit is a building or portion thereof that has independent living facilities, including provisions for sleeping, cooking, and sanitation, and that is designed for residential occupancy by a group of people. A recreational vehicle is not a dwelling unit.
Right.
Sorry, I was trying to find that and talk to you at the same time so I could read it. But that's all I have for commission business.
Okay. All right. That's all we have for commission business. Then I will end the meeting at 7:59.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Angela.
Now it's
about time.
Okay, on our first application, since we're back